my first step ever, my friends, my ninjas. Every episode, we are dealing with an aspect of your life that can help you become the best version of yourself, to help you find that person that you really are, and that you can take the first step towards your goal. And today, I am so honored to have a person who has actually found that one herself within, and now she's doing what she really likes, and she has amassed a lot of love. She has helped a lot of people during pandemic. Please join me in welcoming India's global ambassador for yoga in a lot of other countries at this point in time, Ankita Sood. Ankita, I'm so honored and happy to have you on my first ever.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ishani. It's my pleasure to be on your podcast, and I really appreciate your effort, this initiative. Absolutely. I'm all yours. Let's take it away.
It's really humbling to see that how people who have accomplished something in their life, they are willing to give a bit of their time. It has been a very challenging time for a lot of us. Miss Ankita Sood represented India as yoga ambassador to Hungary, and she was deputed by the government of India, Ministry of External Affairs, from 2017 to 2020. That's a long time, and which means that you held that command, and that people really loved you and they wanted more of you. So I guess you spread the knowledge of yoga, Vedas, Indian philosophy, history, and culture, which is very, very interesting if you are ever interested to know more about India. And I think were at Hungary, in Bosnia, that you had been for seminars, conferences, and I've seen a bit of those the yoga sessions, seminars that you held over there, and they look marvelous. So let's get into. But what is really interesting in your story and journey is when I read that you had a very successful and a growing career in the corporate Times of India, which is the leading newspaper in India. And then you gave up your career and you came into yoga. So let's start from that very beginning. When did this thought come into your mind? Were you always into yoga?
So, okay, let me start by describing myself as a person, Ishani. So, I would say that since I was a child, I was completely, in awe of the nature. I used to be very happy, whenever I was in a garden, I was very happy in outdoors. I was a very happy child when I used to do some outdoor games and sports. Something which was very close to me was fitness and health. So, as a child, I was absolutely drawn towards fitness, health, being healthy, being happy, being positive. That was something which was absolutely there since my childhood. And then what happened was that, well, yes, my parents used to tell me that, you should always complete your studies. And after that, you should pursue something which you really want to take it as your passion. So this was the guideline given to me by my parents. So then, yes, I completed my MBA in marketing, and through that, I was placed with the Times of India group. And as a corporate career, it was a very challenging and a very growing career for me. I was doing really well in that career as well. How this shift happened was that, as I mentioned, that since my childhood, I was always into fitness, I was always into sports, I was always into health. Then one fine day in Mumbai, I stay in Mumbai, and in Mumbai we have this world's oldest yoga institute, which is just next to my place, which is just next to my my residence. And I just happened to casually, I just went to the institute. I met the director of the institute, and I was just mentioning about my corporate career and how things are going, and my inclination towards yoga, my inclination towards health, fitness. And then she said, why don't you take a break of 1 week from your corporate life and come over and do the 7-day camp? And that will be a good check, how is it treating you? So I said, all right, let me do that. So Ishani, then that was the time I took that break of 1 week, which was a very difficult, time for me to take a break, because, my boss was like, where are you going? What's the plan? Why 1 week? This and that, it happens in the corporate world. And finally, I happened to complete that 7 day camp, and that 7 day camp totally changed my. The complete picture was changed. I was getting closer to myself. I was happy. And that was something which I really used to cherish, that, being happy, smiling, positive, healthy. When you work in a corporate world, it's like a rat race. You're just running, running, and running. And where are you running? That we don't know. So you have those targets, you have those presentations, you have those KYCs to be completed, and you have a lot of pressure in the corporate world. So then that was the time. It was a very difficult decision for me, because it was a very big transition from my corporate career to the yoga career. But then I decided, let me do that. I quit my job. I did my master's in yoga. I did my master's in philosophy from the University of Mumbai. I did my teacher's training course from the Yoga Institute. I started my PhD in yoga, and that was like, that was the growth in the yoga journey. Well, then this thing happened, and finally in 2014, 15, when our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji, he declared that now 21st June is going to be the International Day of Yoga, and that is how the whole transition in the ministry happened. And then it's a very long story of giving the examination. So there was an all India level examination in which I appeared, and all professionals from India, they actually gave the examination, and then to my surprise, I topped in that exam.
Wow.
So when I topped in that exam, my name was being highlighted in the ministry, and then the yoga ambassador thing happened, and then the whole journey of representing your country, in Europe. So my first assignment was a short-term assignment where I was again sent as the yoga ambassador to Cambodia. This was in 2016. So that was the time I first represented my country. And Ishani, that was a moment which really gave me goosebumps, when they invited me on the stage, and you have the national anthem, and then you are right there on the stage, and you have thousands of people just looking at you, and they really want to learn something. And that was a very beautiful scene, because it was right in front of Angkor Wat, the traditional heritage temple, if you know Cambodia. And right in front of Angkor Wat, there were like thousands of Cambodians, and I was on the stage and just, representing India and doing the common yoga protocol. So yeah, that is how the journey all began. And then there was no looking back, and training Mumbai police, training university students, college students, corporates, and many, 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 many things were happening. Yeah.
Wow, that is huge. I actually have a few questions to ask, but while you were narrating your story, you were sharing your story, I had a few more questions in my mind. Okay,
Of course.
to start with, the one thing that you mentioned is that your parents told you first complete your graduation and then follow your passion. Something that I think a lot of us hear when we want to
Absolutely.
follow a passion, when we know what a passion is. And
Yes.
I definitely like sort of agree with that. In a way, like if you are not aware what you don't want to do, then maybe complete your studies, and from there you can see where you're going. Another very very important aspect I think in your story is that you had to take that very very difficult decision of not going to your office for a week, and it gets very difficult to explain to people because something means really if something means very dearly to you, it's not easy to explain it to others because they don't see it in the same light. So yeah, it is your onus, it comes on you that if you want to take that decision, you have to stand your ground very firm, and I think that you did. And a lot of us will face that situation in our life. That's when you have to make that decision, and decision really make you, or break things for you going forward.
Absolutely. And I still remember, Ishani, that when I was sharing this with my boss, that now boss, well, 1 week is done and I'm also done with the job. So he was like, but what are you going to do? Just tell me that. Where are you going? I mean, what's the next step? And I said that, I'm going to again study, and I'm going to study yoga and Indian philosophy. And then he was like, but why? What happened? You are good. There's no problem. I said, yeah, there is no problem. And that's the reason. And then I remember after years, after once I completed everything, and then they again came back to me and they said that we really need you, Ankita, in the Times of India group as the yoga faculty, and teach us. And we really want to de-stress ourselves. So yeah, so that's how the transition happened. Yeah, so absolutely right. For the youngsters also, I know sometimes it is a very difficult step that you really have to take that decision. But once you have your willpower, once you have something which is strong in your mind, I think with that determination, things can really happen.
Absolutely. And I think my top two takeaways from your story so far is that first thing is that you believed in what you wanted to do and you gave yourself a chance. You gave it a
True.
try, which is very important. Second thing, I really loved when you said that I was really happy. I just felt
Yes.
so happy, and it's like I was connecting back with myself, and that is so important. And that's sort of that is the purpose of this podcast, having people like Miss Ankita who has found that for herself is just an example that we would like to share. That so can you. It takes a while, but you need to work on it, and the only thing that one needs to do is take a small step, and at times make hard decisions. Um, Ankita, it was really,
Absolutely.
I had just one more question from what you actually shared, besides what I really wanted to ask. When you had that first time, like when you had for the first time when you went to Cambodia representing India, that's a huge, huge thing. So, firstly, congratulations on that and topping the exams. I had no idea that even in
Thank you.
yoga you need to write exams.
Absolutely.
That's good to see that we are progressing and we are having different sorts of masters and studies that we can do in our area of interest that really benefits and help people besides the corporate sector that we have, which is also very important for people who really want to be in that. So going forward, yeah, my question was, how did you feel? What was the challenge like, being in this? That was just a start. I'm sure you had done so much of hard work, went back to study, which is not easy once you are in the flow of working. I have done that and I know how it feels like. So, how did you feel being there for the first time in front of so many people? Were you always confident or did you work on your confidence? That's my first aim. Second, what were the challenges that you faced post that and how did you, overcome those? If you would like to share with our listeners.
First, let me answer the first question. Now, the first question is about the confidence about getting engaged with a huge audience. Well, the secret behind this is that as a child, I don't know what used to trigger me. The moment I used to come back home after my school, I used to keep all my dolls in front, and I used to have this blackboard, and I used to start being like a teacher, and I used to teach everything which was taught to me during the day as my teachers were teaching me all subjects, everything. Can you imagine? I have such intelligent dolls. So that actually gave me the practice of talking to people. Always as a child, I was extrovert. I used to take active part in debates and poetry recitations and essay writings, and writing articles in my school magazine. And of course, sports. Of course, yes, I was a gold medalist in long jump and relay and all those things. Yeah. So yeah, and I think a lot of support was by my parents to me and my brother, both of us, that we were made that you are supposed to talk, you are supposed to express yourself. So we never kept any emotions inside ourselves. We used to express it. And that's the reason I think we became good orators. Confidence was, by the grace of God, and my parents gifted it to us, that it was there in our genes. And yeah, so that really helped. And coming to your next question about the challenges, well, I won't say that I faced any challenges because now I had a very good combination of marketing skills because I was an MBA in marketing and yoga. So whatever I wanted to do, I wanted to do it with perfection. And that is the reason I did my master's. It was not just a small diploma course or a small 2 months, 3 months, 6 months TTC course. I dedicated my time and energy in learning everything. And that was the reason it gave me the confidence that in case I'm, addressing thousands of people and people are asking me so many questions, I should have the answers to these questions. Yeah. Challenges, I don't think so, because the very first assignment given to me was to train the Mumbai police. So imagine Mumbai Police was my first assignment, and training the Mumbai Police and how I used to handle the Mumbai Police, and so it was a very very beautiful experience. So yeah, there was no looking back, and I used to also train a lot of international students. I was also associated with a lot of five-star hotels. So there, I used to train a lot of people who used to have interest in yoga, and they used to come and visit India, and then I used to train them. So yeah, so it was very comfortable for me, help people to make them understand what yoga is all about. And I remember when I was deputed in Hungary, the very first thing which was actually I wanted to share with the Hungarians was that yoga is not only contortions of the body parts, twisting, turning, and just the circus is not yoga. Yoga is much deeper. So that is the reason I was representing India, I was representing my culture, and it was my duty and responsibility to explain them what is yoga.
It's so good to listen to each phase of your story, because there are few takeaways that I would like to highlight over here. Confidence was a way of life, I think, for you. Oh, that's how your parents brought you and your brother up. And if people who are listening to us, if that's not the case for you, that's okay, because now that you know that there are small ways in which you can build your confidence, as Ms. Ankita just shared with us. She used to talk to her dolls. You can talk to maybe inanimate objects, or you can start with person who's the closest to you. You don't need to go out suddenly in the crowd and do it. And one of the very very beautiful things, I think, Sankita, that you shared is that you never kept any emotion or anything away from your parents or people who are close by. It's so important to communicate your emotions, what you're thinking, what's bothering you. That's the very first step to have a clear mind, and that's when you can think about things which are so important for you. So that's very interesting, and I am so happy to hear that you train Mumbai police and you train people internationally, and we can see the effects, especially from the recent video that you did on Instagram, which was more about helping people during COVID times, that hit 2 millions, which just means that how many people were impacted by your knowledge. And as you mentioned, the very reason of education is that you gain knowledge, and that's your foundation. So thank you so much, Ankita, for taking us through so many things. I just have one more question for you. Now that you mentioned about that you teach students as well, and people who are listening to us majorly are students and young professionals, I would like you to give them top tips, because we all know that yoga is beneficial and we would like to do
Yeah.
few things, but at times you're not able to. So what would be your top three tips for them, if they really want to start yoga and they're not being consistent at all?
Okay, well, in yoga we say abhyas vairagya abhyam tan nirodha. So that means that abhyas, the consistency, the perseverance is the key, and it is the key for anything. If you want to learn swimming, if you are not doing abhyas, if you are not practicing it, you cannot swim. If you are not again practicing, if you want to drive well, so everything is based on abhyas. So everything is based on regularity. So one thing is that be away from that laziness. I really tell the youth that come on, you just have to be strong with that strong willpower. In Hindi there is a saying that जहाँ चाह है वहाँ राह है. Where there is a will, there is a way. So agar aapne, if you think that you can do this, of course you can do this. So now the first and the foremost tip is that you really have to take charge of yourself. You really have to take charge of your health. That is the key. I'm just telling Ishani, you have to get up in the morning, you have to do this, you have to do that. But Ishani is not bothered. She is like, no, I don't want to do it. So it has to come within. It has to come, within. So in case you are a person who really procrastinate things, don't do that. So number one is take charge of yourself, of your health. Yeah. Number two is that eat fresh. So no canned, no refrigerated food. Try to eat something which is very simple, which is easily digestible, which is good for your metabolism, which keeps you fresh. Otherwise, if you are already having things which are, canned and tamasic food, which we say, so that tamasic food is going to actually increase that laziness in the body. The amount of laziness increases. So number two is that eat right, eat well balanced food, nutritious food, simple food. And number three, I would say that sleep well. People are not sleeping well. And if you're not sleeping well, then of course you are going to play games with your mind. In yoga, again, the very simple definition of yoga is that yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So that means if your mind, which is having a lot of modifications going on, number of thoughts are coming, going, coming, going. So you must have that ability to manage these thoughts. So if you are not sleeping well, if you are not resting, if you're not giving rest to your body, if you're not giving rest to your mind, you will not feel fresh. You will not feel good. You will not feel healthy. So people should sleep well. That is important. And one more important thing for the youth is that the youth is nowadays spending a lot of time on phone screen. A lot of time on phone screen. So I want you all to shift from the phone screen to the mind screen. The mind screen is really going to help you out, because if you are really having those conversations with your own self, that is what I've mentioned in my videos. And I think that is the reason why people were watching those videos, because in a very playful manner, I just explain it to them that how you can take charge of your health, what simple tips can you incorporate in your lifestyle so that you can lead a happy and a positive life. So the series was based on COVID positive to negative. So I was also tested positive. And during my quarantine time, this is what I was thinking, that how can I help this, my COVID, me getting positive, tested positive, how can this be a help for others? So then in my quarantine times, I started penning down my experiences. What is that I'm feeling? What is that it's going on in my mind? And to my surprise, Shani, I would say that COVID is a game of your mind. If you don't take charge of your mind during COVID, things are really going to fall bad. So it is very important. That was the key I could take out, that yes, it is important to take care of your mind. You should have that strong willpower. You have to be optimistic during your COVID time, and then follow simple things which I will mention in my videos, and you will feel better, you will feel good, you will be healthy.
I would just like to say before anything else that I really like your mindset of, sharing and helping other people. Anything that's happening around you, you are just what you're just trying to see how you can benefit other people as well. Thinking of the greater good, which is so inspiring in a way. And also everything that you mentioned about how each one of us, can start taking care of our health, because that's a very, very important part of our life. Our health, our mental health, physical health, relationships, finances, career, they're all different aspects of our life. If only and if we excel in each,
Yeah.
is then that we feel complete and we are at peace. And it doesn't need to be a big step that you need to take. So, for example, if you want to start any sort of physical exercise, start for maybe 5 minutes from today. Take the most easiest step that you can. And that's how I built my routine as well, starting with 5 minutes. I'm really literally saying that. And now I've got a little far. So that's how things
Okay.
happen. So thank you, Ankita, for your time. I am so honored, and I really enjoyed chatting with you, because it's so important to, look into the mind of people who have really done it, who have made it, who know who they are, and they love themselves, they love their career, they love everything about themselves, because you tried to find yourself and now you're working towards it. And the next step is to help and spread that for greater good. So thank you, Ankita. And I always request all my guest speakers to leave our listeners with a thought or a saying that they really resonate with.
All right. So thank you so much, Ishani, for bringing me on your podcast, and so that I could actually connect with so many listeners, and that to youth. The next thing is that, well, a thought which I would really like people to contemplate on and reflect on is the same thing that I told you, that taking charge of your health, because health is wealth, that is important. And also switching over from the phone screen to the mind screen is really important. Having a lot of conversations, Ishani, we are missing on that. We are really missing on our conversations with our own selves. So that is important. And stay away from drugs, stay away from things which are really not good for you. So that is really important. If you see, life is a very precious gift, and we can only enjoy life if we have good health. If we do not have a good health, we cannot enjoy life. We cannot enjoy a good drive. We cannot enjoy a holiday. So it is important for each one of us to have a good health. Take care of yourself, stay happy, stay positive, keep smiling, keep shining, and just spread that positivity to everyone. That is the key.
Thank you so much. And that was such a great note to end this podcast on. If you want to become the best version of yourself, concentrate on the very important aspect of your life, which is your health. As Ankita said, health is wealth, and no one can do you better than you can do. So we want to see you, your personality shine in this world. So try and become the best person that you can, the best version of yourself, by doing certain things that we have discussed in today's episode, and a lot of other meaningful things that we always keep discussing in the previous episode. So thank you so much, Ankita. It was a pleasure chatting with you today.